Well, the case of a Minnesota missionary killed in Africa is taking another turn. He was reportedly killed as part of a murder for hire plot allegedly orchestrated by his wife. Morgan Wolf joins us now with the details.
His legs were broken backwards, like twigs snapped the wrong way, his mouth stuffed with a wad of white cloth, and his eyes still open. Who would do this to a missionary? It was late evening when a farmer came across the body, just lying there, twisted, dumped. He didn't touch it. He didn't have to. One look and he knew this man didn't die by accident. The body belonged to Bo Schroyer, a father of 5, a pastor, an American who gave up his quiet life in North Dakota to serve God in the hills of Angola. But less than a year after arriving, he was found dead, brutalized, and the person who may have made it happen wasn't a stranger. It was someone who kissed him goodnight. This story isn't about war or robbery, it's about betrayal so deep it cut through vows, faith, and flesh. This is the disturbing story of Bo Schroyer. Bo Schroyer was the kind of man who made you feel safe the moment he walked into a room. Not because he was loud or commanding, he wasn't, but because he really saw you, he listened, and he cared. He was born and raised in North Dakota, in a small town where everyone knew everyone. His childhood was simple: chorts, church, and fishing with his dad. He wasn't the star athlete or the class clown, but everyone remembered Bo because he was kind. When a kid fell off their bike, Bo was the one who ran to help. When a teacher needed someone to stay after and clean up, it was Bo who stayed. That was just who he was. As he got older, he found purpose in helping people. He became a police officer in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Not the kind of officer who barked orders or showed off his badge, but one who knelt down next to a crying kid and asked what was wrong. His reports were always detailed and he remembered people's names, but even then something inside him felt restless. He used to tell his younger brother, "I think I'm supposed to do more, like bigger than this, not louder, just deeper." That deeper calling would lead him to faith-based youth work. He left the police force, started helping with troubled teens, and eventually joined a ministry that specialized in community outreach. That's where he met Jackie. Jackie was fire and precision wrapped in a smile. She was the kind of woman who could plan a full church fundraiser, teach Sunday school, and still have dinner on the table by 6. She had grown up in Minnesota too, and her path to ministry wasn't through rebellion or tragedy, it was through certainty. She knew who she was and what she believed in. When Jackie and Bo met, it was like puzzle pieces locking into place. They didn't rush it. Friends first. Then long talks. Then the kind of love that made people around them believe in something bigger. They got married and settled into ministry life together. 5 kids came, each one a surprise and a gift. Their house was full of laughter, school books, prayer, and the endless noise of a big family. But it worked because Jackie handled structure and Bo brought heart. Their church saw them as a team. Spiritual warriors, people called them, the kind of couple who didn't just attend church, they were the church. If someone's lights got shut off, Bo and Jackie would show up with a check. If a teen ran away from home, Bo was the one talking them down. And when someone passed away, Jackie brought casseroles and quietly sat with the widow until she stopped crying. That life was good, not flashy, not easy, but good. For over a decade, they served in youth ministries across the U.S. and abroad. But in 2021, something shifted. They felt it was time for one last major mission. They called it their final calling. SimUSA, a Christian missions organization, had programs running in rural Angola in Africa. They were looking for a long-term missionary family to help lead youth and children's ministry in a remote village. Jackie and Bo said yes. They sold what they had, packed up the kids, and flew to a place where dirt roads stretched for miles and generators hummed through the night. It was quiet, raw, and honest work, and they believed they were exactly where they were meant to be. Bo took to the work fast. He didn't mind getting his hands dirty. He fixed broken trucks, taught kids, prayed with teenagers, and even helped build housing for local workers. The locals liked him. He was calm, humble. He never acted like he was better because he came from America. Jackie was just as involved. She organized school programs, helped with translation logistics, and homeschooled their kids in the mornings. It wasn't easy. The internet was spotty, medical care was far, but they leaned on each other. Every night after the kids went to sleep, Bo and Jackie sat outside with cups of instant coffee talking about their day. Sometimes he'd make her laugh until she snorted. Other times she'd worry about how thin the kids were getting, and he'd remind her, God didn't bring us this far to drop us now. They believed that, or at least he did. Because if you looked at them from the outside, everything looked fine. But little cracks were starting to form, cracks so small that if you weren't looking, you'd miss them. Jackie seemed tired more often, short-tempered. She spent more time alone, but they were under pressure, raising kids overseas, trying to do everything at once. Stress made sense. At least, that's what everyone told themselves. Bo never talked bad about her, not once. Even when close friends noticed the change, he'd just smile and say, she's got a lot on her shoulders, so I pray a little more. That was Bo. He didn't run when things got hard, he leaned in. He believed in redemption, in working through the mess. He believed if you loved someone enough, you stayed. And maybe that's what makes what happened next so hard to accept. Because what Bo couldn't see, what none of them could see, was that something had already changed. And it wasn't stress. It wasn't burnout. It was something else entirely. Something that, once it started, couldn't be stopped. And by the time Bo realized it, it was already too late. He started waking up in the middle of the night, not from noises, those were normal out here, but from something else, something inside him. Bo would lie still, eyes open, listening to the whir of the ceiling fan sputtering on generator power, and wonder what it was that was making his chest feel so heavy. Back home, in Detroit Lakes, he'd been the calm one, the one people called when things went sideways. But now, even with his police training, he couldn't put a name to what was happening. It wasn't just the heat, or the isolation, or the relentless pressure of life in the village. It was Jackie. He'd known her laugh for decades, knew how her voice got sharp when she was focused, how she talked with her hands when she was excited. But now, it felt like she was keeping a piece of herself hidden. Not angry, not cold, just removed. Like she'd left the room even when she was standing right there. He started making those late-night calls back to friends in Minnesota. Sometimes he wouldn't say much, just small talk or prayer requests. But other nights, the worry bled out of him. She's been acting different, he said once to an old friend from their church, like her mind is somewhere else and I can't reach her. The friend had suggested maybe it was just culture shock or exhaustion. After all, they were living halfway across the world in a place where power outages were daily, food had to be rationed, and simple things like internet or water couldn't be relied on. But Bo knew stress. He'd seen it in himself, in others. This wasn't that. Around this time, Bernardino started showing up more. The young security guard was smooth and always smiling. He had the kind of charm that made people laugh without realizing they were doing it. And Jackie, who used to light up around Bo, started lighting up around him. It wasn't obvious at first. Bernardino was part of the team. He handled security, helped with errands, sometimes fixed equipment when Bo was busy elsewhere. But then came the little shifts. Jackie started running errands without saying where she was going. She and Bernardino would be gone for hours. One evening, Bo walked into the courtyard and saw them sitting too close, heads tilted toward each other, whispering. When Jackie noticed him, she pulled away like she'd been burned. Later that night, Bo brought it up gently, just a question, not an accusation. Hey, what's going on between you and Bernardino? Jackie laughed, that laugh that used to make him feel like everything was okay. Oh, Bo, she said, don't be ridiculous. But something in the way she said it made the back of his neck prickle. After that, things didn't go back to normal. Jackie became more guarded. She spent more time planning things alone, claimed she needed space for homeschooling or coordination, and even though they were still working together, Bo felt like he was now orbiting her, never quite able to land. He tried to keep the peace, he wrote more in his journal, he prayed harder, he clung to his mission. If he could just write it out, maybe things would settle. But then came the money. It started small, a few receipts that didn't add up, supplies that were supposedly purchased but never arrived. When Bo asked Jackie about it, she shrugged it off. Accounting's just messy right now, she'd say. It'll all sort itself out. But Bo couldn't shake the feeling he'd spent his whole life noticing patterns, tracking behavior, first as a cop, then as a father, then as a missionary, and this felt wrong. So he started tracking things quietly: dates, amounts, conversations. He didn't want to believe it, but the numbers told their own story. There was cash missing, and Jackie didn't seem concerned at all. By October, the tension had become something physical. Their conversations were clipped, meals were eaten in silence, and Jackie had begun talking about staying in Angola longer, much longer. Their return trip to the U.S. was supposed to happen in early 2025. Bo was already planning what he'd say at the church, the updates he'd give, the reunion with their grandkids. But Jackie? She avoided the topic, brushed it off, said she didn't feel ready. One evening they stood on the porch of their mission house watching the sun go down over the dry fields. It should have been peaceful, but Bo felt a tightness in his chest he couldn't name. "Why don't you want to go home?" he asked, his voice low. Jackie looked out over the field, didn't answer at first. Then finally she said, "Maybe this is home now." That night, Bo didn't sleep. In the village, people had started to notice too. A missionary wife who'd helped Jackie with logistics pulled Bo aside one afternoon and asked, "Is everything all right with you two?" Her tone wasn't nosy, it was worried. Bo just nodded, but his eyes said something else. And Bernardino? He was always nearby, always smiling. But Bo saw the way he looked at Jackie when he thought no one was watching, and worse, he saw the way she sometimes looked back. Still, Bo kept going, teaching, repairing, logging every strange moment in his journal, like some part of him knew he might need it later. He didn't know for what, just something. He never raised his voice, never accused. He just waited, hoped, prayed that whatever this was, it would pass. But it didn't. It got heavier, quieter, like a storm building far off that no one could see, but he could feel it. Every time Jackie left the house, his stomach twisted, not from jealousy, from dread. There was one night in late October where he woke up suddenly, heart pounding. He couldn't remember the dream, just that it had felt like something was being taken from him, something final. He rolled over and looked at Jackie. She wasn't there. He waited a minute, then another. The silence in the house was too loud. Outside, a faint wind moved through the trees, and somewhere far in the distance a dog barked once and stopped. Bo sat up slowly. In the journal on his nightstand, the last thing he'd written was just a single line. "Something's coming. I don't know what." And within days, the world he thought he knew would be gone. On October 25th, 2024, Bo left his house for the last time. Jackie had said someone down the road needed help with their car. A neighbor, she claimed. The engine died, they were stranded, and Elias would take him there. Bo didn't question it. He'd fixed dozens of broken-down vehicles during their time in Tianzhou. It was routine, familiar, and in a place where help was often hard to come by, Bo never hesitated to lend a hand. He grabbed his tool bag, slung it over his shoulder, and stepped out of the house, unaware that he was walking straight into a setup, one that had been carefully, deliberately put in place. Elias was waiting for him outside. Calm. Too calm. He barely made eye contact. They didn't talk much as they walked, just the sound of their footsteps on the dirt road and the low hum of insects in the brush. The village disappeared behind them, swallowed by trees and silence. Bo, always trusting, never realized they weren't headed toward any vehicle. In fact, there was no car, no stranded neighbor, just an empty stretch of bushland where the trees grew thick and the ground softened with rot. What happened next was vicious. No one knows if Bo ever had the chance to see it coming, but somewhere between the edge of the village and the overgrown trail near the water tanks, Elias struck. A knife, military grade, serrated, brutal, ripped into Bo's back, again and again. That knife was the same one Bo had given Elias months earlier. A gift, a gesture of friendship. It was used to gut him like an animal. The attack wasn't quick, it wasn't clean. Some wounds were defensive, cuts on his hands, arms, he fought. But it didn't matter. When it was over, his body was left face down in the dirt, bleeding into the soil. Left like he didn't matter. And back at the house, Jackie waited. She didn't call out, didn't check in. She knew there was no broken down car, And when hours passed with no sign of her husband, when most people would have panicked, Jackie barely reacted. When she finally reported him missing, it had already been nearly 8 hours, and even then the way she spoke, it was wrong, flat, measured, not like someone in shock, not like a grieving wife, more like someone giving a performance they'd rehearsed. The villagers started whispering. Something was off. Jackie didn't cry, didn't ask the usual questions. Where could he be, or has anyone seen him? Instead, she kept close to Elias. The same man last seen walking with Bo. That night when the police finally began searching, they found Bo's body just a few miles from the main road, sprawled out in a clearing, covered in blood, already attracting flies. His tool bag lay a few feet away, untouched. There was no car nearby, no sign anyone had needed help. And Jackie still showed no emotion. The officers who responded would later say she barely blinked when they told her he was dead. No breakdown, no denial, just a slow nod like she'd been expecting it. But the unease didn't stop there. Inside their home, investigators noted small details, things that on their own meant little, but together, they painted a picture. Bo's side of the bedroom was neatly made. His journal, left open on the nightstand, showed no entry for that day, but 2 pages had been ripped out. The last remaining line read, "Something's coming, I don't know what." In the living room, Jackie had already begun packing some of their belongings, folded neatly, almost as if she was preparing to leave. And Elias, he was nowhere to be found. His room had been cleared out, clothes gone, cell phone missing. The only thing left was an empty duffel bag on his bed and a half-eaten meal sitting cold on the table. Back in the village, word spread quickly. Locals recalled strange moments in the days before, Jackie meeting Elias late at night near the riverbank, the way they sometimes argued in hushed tones when they thought no one was watching, how Bo had seemed tense, distracted, carrying around a little notebook like he was keeping track of something. That notebook was missing now. But one neighbor, an older woman named Miriam, remembered something chilling. 2 nights before Bo died, she had walked past their house and seen Jackie standing outside, staring into the dark. Not moving, not blinking, just watching. Miriam had asked if everything was okay. Jackie didn't answer, she just turned slowly and went back inside without a word. Now with Bo gone and Elias vanished, the questions multiplied. The embassy sent officials, the local police dug deeper, and beneath the surface a twisted truth was beginning to unravel. But for now, all that remained was a body in the brush, a wife who wouldn't cry, and a village that had seen enough to know this wasn't just a tragedy. This was something planned, something cold. And soon, the cracks would begin to show. The cracks began with Elias. He was the first to talk. When Angolan authorities brought him in, it wasn't bravado or denial that came out. It was exhaustion. Elias broke within hours, his story spilling out like a confession too heavy to keep inside any longer. He admitted it all, the planning, the affair, the promise of a better life with Jackie if he just did this one thing. Just end. Then came the money trail, wiring instructions, deleted chats, phone logs that painted a picture far colder than anyone imagined. Jackie hadn't just gone along with the plan, she'd orchestrated it. She offered Elias and his accomplices $50,000, 0 cents, to kill her husband. She even suggested the location. Bo was lured away from his home like a dog chasing after a whistle, led straight into the trap. Then came Isolino Cayu, just 22, barely older than Bo's son. He confessed too, said he didn't even know Bo personally, he was just doing what he was paid to do. And then, the one name no one expected, Gelson Ramos, a local with ties to both Jackie and Elias. He disappeared days after the murder, and to this day no one has seen him, his house abandoned, his phone dead. Some think he fled Angola, others whisper darker theories. But it was Jackie's arrest that silenced the village. When they took her in, she didn't cry. She didn't scream. According to witnesses, she simply asked if her kids would be okay, as if nothing else mattered, as if her husband's body wasn't still being prepped for autopsy, as if the house they'd built together wasn't still echoing with the absence of his footsteps. She was charged as a co-author to Beau's murder. In Angolan law, that means you don't have to hold the weapon, you just have to hold the motive. And Jackie's motive was buried in the ashes of a life she didn't want anymore. Elias said she'd planned to stay in Angola permanently, said she talked about how Beau would never understand, how she felt trapped, how she deserved a new start. She just didn't mention it would come at the cost of a man's life. Beau's body was returned to Minnesota that December. His memorial was quiet, heavy, full of people who'd known him as the man who could fix anything, who laughed with his kids, who sang in the morning, who believed, really believed, that he was helping people. And the entire time, not one person could understand how the woman beside him could have been sharpening the blade. Their children were flown out of Angola under protection. They live now with extended family, homeschooled, quiet. One of them asks if they'll ever go back. The answer is always the same. Not yet. And in Angola, Jackie waits. No jury, no deals, just 3 judges behind closed doors. She could spend the rest of her life there. And the church that once supported her, they cut ties the moment the charges were read. But what lingers aren't the legal proceedings, it's the things that never made the news. Like the housekeeper who said Jackie stopped sleeping in the same bed as Beau months before the murder, or the neighbor who said Elias was seen near the property late at night, or the church member who still visits Beau's grave every Sunday leaving behind the same 3 words written on folded paper. You didn't deserve this. That's what sticks. Because Jackie didn't just betray a man, she betrayed a calling. She turned trust into currency, love into leverage, and faith into a lie. And what remains isn't just a broken family, it's a question. If someone can live beside you, love you, pray with you, and still plan your death, then how do you ever really know anyone? If stories like this shake something in you, good, they should. These aren't just crimes. They're cracks in the human experience. Proof that the line between light and dark isn't always easy to see. And sometimes the person holding your hand is the one pushing you toward the edge.